Time for some Type 40, a little more extra Type 40 with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, here on the Space Book channel. It's our before show, after show, and in between show to all the podcasts and live streams and everything else that we put out from across the Whooniverse. It's a chance for us to check those fixed points, or not so much, on or off screen in everything concerning our favourite TV show, Doctor Who. And I couldn't wait to talk about this very, very exciting news. Well, it's not news. It is news. So it's more a rumor, a whisper, whatever. And it's building. So over the last few weeks, we have become completely swept away, haven't we? And kind of entranced by Millie Gibson, the brand new Doctor Who companion. We're not going to see her on screen for probably another year, are we? But this is Millie, of course, straight from Coronation Street, only 18 years old, and a big ray of sunshine. I think that I don't think I've met a fan yet who doesn't like Millie Gibson, who's not excited to meet Ruby Sunday. And that's just the latest thing. I mean, a couple of months ago, we were treated to the return, weren't we, of two classic companions in The Power of the Doctor on BBC One. That big blowout, you could call it that, for the Chibnall era. There was Sophie Aldred and Janet Fielding back on screen, making us 80s kids all, well, feel like kids again, quite frankly. And yet it all chimes in with that kind of that primal love of Doctor Who. I think when you latch onto these characters, they're sort of family, aren't they? And just in the last 24 hours, new whispers have built. They've come from one person in particular about the return of a key cast member, one of the original cast members of Doctor Who, right the way back from 1963. And if this happens, it could create quite a time storm, couldn't it? Who am I talking about? I think you probably know exactly who I'm talking about. But before we get into that, here's the point where I remind you, please like the video now, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it, whether it's a podcast, a live stream, or an extra show like this when something breaks. I class this as breaking. But we're going to get into it in a moment as to why we could take this seriously or not. I'll leave you to decide that, but I'm going to roll out the case for why I think this is quite likely. So who am I talking about? Well, yes, who else but the unearthly child herself, Carol Ann Ford, the original co-star with William Hartnell there of Doctor Who. Carol Ann Ford was the key character, wasn't she, of Susan Foreman, the Doctor's granddaughter, all the way back there in the very first episode of Doctor Who. And even though she was only in the show for that first season and a bit, she left two stories into season 2, didn't she? And Carol Ann Ford herself has carried on acting in all the decades in between. She is still completely and totally linked to this show. Susan herself is an iconic character, and so many of us fans have been wanting her to return over the years. I think the last time she was on screen, certainly, well, canonically, was in The Five Doctors. That was the 20th anniversary special, but could she be coming back for the 60th? That is what we're asking, and it does look increasingly likely. So what am I talking about? And how exactly has this come about? Well, it's come about through social media, as a great many things do these days. As Bad Wolf Studios and Russell T Davies and everybody else that's sort of taken the reins of the show in the last few months have demonstrated they're more than willing and very capable of using social media and the tide of fan activity that tends to sort of build off every little thing there. They're more than capable of using that to generate a massive interest around the show and around the intellectual property with really very, very little. And the BBC, across all their accounts, they quite regularly put out clips, don't they, of Doctor Who that can be from at any time in the series history. Well, this time, I think this was yesterday, they put out a clip of this scene, this moment that's etched on our hearts, whether we watched it live or we've seen it on video or DVD since. It's the moment, that scene where Susan left her grandfather's company at the end of the Dalek invasion of Earth And yeah, it was. It's still a bit of a gut wrencher, I think. But the Doctor delivers that speech to her, doesn't he, through the TARDIS screen? That they put that at the beginning of the Five Doctors. That was the first time I think I'd ever seen that, and I was associated with the Five Doctors because of that, because that was my time. But when you see it in context in this story and how it's played by Carol Ann and by William Hartnell, that they're together but apart, God, it gets me every time. It's so cruel. But yeah, ever since that moment, Carol Ann Ford and the character of Susan has been estranged from the Doctor. There was that one appearance in the Five Doctors, and then she turned up again in Dimensions in Time, didn't she? But we try not to talk about that. I'm very much with Russell on that, with Russell T Davies. It was for charity, so what the hell? But it's not canon, despite what some may say. Yes, so she hasn't been on screen in this character for nearly 40 years, and in the actual context of a real meeting, a real catch up with her, since she actually left. So what's actually happened? Well, yeah, they put out this video as part of their cycle at the BBC, and as usual, there's lots and lots of comments. But there was one in there from Russell T Davies, and the BBC said, throwing back to the first big goodbye between the Doctor and a companion. And Russell T Davies, the current showrunner of Doctor Who, simply adds, whatever happened to her? And a thinking emoji. Already just at the time that the screenshot was taken, there's 464 likes. You can imagine, can't you, the furore around that. Now, Russell T Davies, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows this fandom inside out. He is one of us. And I think he's very confident in his use of social media, isn't he? Chris Chibnall never used it at all. In fact, Chris Chibnall never really spoke at all. Stephen Moffat has a Twitter account, but he uses it sparingly. He uses it wisely, come to think of it. And he's always very approachable, I think, Stephen Moffat. I remember when he was on Outpost Gallifrey years ago, you couldn't really wish to talk to a more down-to-earth guy. But with Russell, with social media, he knows that all eyes are on anything that he responds to, anything that he tweets or grams or anything. He knows we will have landed on this. And how seriously should we take it? That's the big question, isn't it? Because the fact of the matter is, the 60th anniversary is in the can. Those 3 hour-long episodes are in the can. David Tennant has said that so many more people are going to be in that special than we know about. Him and Catherine Tate returning, it's just a tiny corner of a much, much bigger picture. Who is in that cast? Attention, understandably, tends to focus, doesn't it? I'm just the same as everybody else. My attention focuses on the Matt Smiths and the Peter Capaldis and all those people. But the companions, Catherine Tate's there. Why wouldn't they bring back companions for this? Carol Ann Ford may be 81 years of age, but she's still acting, still performing, still very much part of the Doctor Who universe. A couple of years ago, there was this fantastic box set from Big Finish at Susan's War, part of the Time War strand of stories, where she was, Paul McGann was in that, and William Russell, Daleks and Sensorites, and also it's great fun. I really love that set. Deep into the Time War, it's all sort of espionage and all that kind of thing. Lots and lots of fun. And she's great in it. There's no reason at all that I can think of that Carol Ann Ford couldn't be back on screen. And the 60th anniversary is absolutely the perfect time. Now, we should say that Russell T Davies, not that long ago, he'd admitted that from the moment that they started taking control of Doctor Who, taking creative control of Doctor Who again, they were deliberately putting out stories. Before we heard about Shooty, before we heard about anything, it could have been them, for example, that leaked the whole Hugh Grant rumor from around last Easter that we reported on Type 40 Live. Russell said that some of the things that we had heard and we'd reported on and that fandom had sort of really ran with, some of it were deliberate red herrings put out by Bad Wolf and probably by Russell himself. So is that what he's doing here? That's a reasonable question. I personally think, with no information at all, obviously, I think this one is on the money. I don't think he'd be so cruel as to dangle this ultimate. I do think this is the ultimate Doctor Who return carrot, more than any of the Doctors, particularly for the classic fans. And Russell is absolutely a classic fan, and he understands. I think he understands every level of fandom, but particularly the classic fans. Now, back on Type 40 Live, some point around 18 months ago, I had speculated about the prospects for Susan's return, because between us, I think we twigged that the 60th anniversary, it was happening, and that Bad Wolf were doing it. But we knew, didn't we, by that point, that Jodie Whittaker was not going to be in the picture. And I'd come to the position. Sorry, I'd come to the position where I thought that there is no way that Bad Wolf, that new production company, would install a new actor in the lead role of the Doctor for the 60th anniversary and expect them to sort of to build their character and fill out this legendary role, try and make it their own, when so many eyes were on them in this big anniversary. So I'd reasoned I couldn't possibly have foreseen that they would bring back David Tennant as a brand new incarnation of the Doctor, because obviously that's never been done before. As we all know, they've done that. But before that became an option, I figured that the specials, they would need a lead character. And if the Doctor was in the middle of some sort of regeneration crisis, and that's why we were potentially going to get 3 episodes with no Doctor, somebody was going to have to fill the role of the lead. And I couldn't really think of anybody better than the original co-lead of the show herself, Carol Ann Ford, as Susan Foreman. That's how perfect it seems. Now, obviously, Carol Ann Ford, she is, she's not a young woman. She's very youthful, but she's getting up there in age. And this could be the ideal opportunity for her, not to close her connection with Doctor Who, but to bring it full circle. As far as I know, she's never really spoken about returning specifically as such, but we do know that Peter Capaldi was a big champion of hers. There was a lot of momentum from the actor himself, the 12th Doctor himself, obviously being a classic series fan. He'd been pushing and pushing and pushing. In fact, any time that any magazine like the Radio Times would ask him, who would you like to see brought back? He'd always have 2 answers, wouldn't he? For the monsters, he'd talk about the Mondasian Cybermen, and he would always mention the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan. And we do know that she was, like a lot of the companions were back in the Capaldi era, she was invited to Cardiff to the set. And we've got this quote here from Carol Ann Ford, and she says that Peter Capaldi was batting for me the whole time. He desperately wanted us to do something together. I went up to Cardiff. We were dancing around the TARDIS set together. So I started singing, I want to come back. I want to come back. That was in 2014. Apparently pictures were taken. I've never seen any of these, but I'd love to. Maybe they'll pop up at some point. But I would say, although this was 6, 7, 8 years ago now, Carol Ann Ford is still very much engaged with Doctor Who, still a very energetic woman, and more than capable of bringing the character of Susan back to us on television, and evoking that connection between the lead character, obviously, because we know David Tennant will be there, maybe Ncuti Gatwa will be there too, but reconnecting the character of Susan with her grandfather, whoever he's played by. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments section. Is this stimulating you the way it stimulated me? Let me know what you think. How likely is it that Russell T Davies could be just playing us a little there? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it. Whether it's these ramblings, these video diary style videos from me, whether it's a longer form extra chat with a few friends, a full-on podcast, or one of our Type 40 live streams. It's all coming at you, but you have to hit the cloister bell so you get notified about what it is and when and how. Okay. Yeah, I'm still buzzing from the prospect that Carol Ann Ford could be returning to Doctor Who. But in the last few months, yes, we had the Power of the Doctor special, and as well as Janet Fielding and Sophie Aldred back in their roles, we had numerous characters, didn't we? At the end of that, one of whom was Carol Ann Ford's co-star from right back at the beginning, William Russell. He was back on screen as Ian Chesterton. And this role, in just a couple of lines worth of dialogue, it did get him in the Guinness Book of Records, didn't it? So he holds the record now for the longest gap between TV appearances of an actor playing a television character for his return role there. Because William Russell played Ian Chesterton in 77. Those are first 77 episodes of Doctor Who. He left on the 26th of June 1965, and then he reappeared 57 years and 120 days later there for the Power of the Doctor. I suspect he only ever saw a couple of pages of the script. They wouldn't want to traumatize the man. But yeah, there he was. And wouldn't it be great? Doesn't it seem even better if the other surviving original cast member of Doctor Who, if she was there in one of the next episodes? I think that would be absolutely delightful. I think surely Russell T Davies knows that this is the last best opportunity to do this, because from this moment on, from the 60th anniversary, the show really does need to grab its new audience and take them somewhere, take the series into the future, and allow Ncuti Gatwa and Miller Gibson to build their characters and really explore the new. This is our last big chance for a big celebration. Let's be honest, until probably the 75th anniversary. I think they could do the 70th and the 75th, could you? So if not now, when? If not her, then who? Know what you think about this in the comments section. Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. Filming is continuing on Doctor Who at the moment, all around Cardiff, with Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, and all manner of other various creepy crawlies by the look of things. I mean, check this out. This is from location just today. I think this could be. I thought it could be a gastropod or a tractator. Maybe they've gone back to the 80s again for whatever this is supposed to be. It's clearly meant to be something along those lines, something sluggy and snaily. It's probably somebody tucked away inside there somewhere. We'll find out, I suppose, in due course, but this stuff's all over Twitter and Instagram and all the rest of it. People taking little pictures of everything they possibly can. Sometimes I think we maybe see a little too much, but it's all part of the fun, isn't it? And to be honest, I think that they probably know and accept that this is happening at Bad Wolf, and really acknowledge that fandom's part in keeping the interest alive and keeping us. We keep one another lathered up, don't we? God, that sounds bad. But we do. Between us in fandom, we make sure that we stay enthused, stay engaged with this property, and that's what I think keeps Doctor Who alive to some extent. In between seasons, that's part of the joy of this fan base and the investment that we all have in this brand. So yeah, is Carol Ann Ford going to come back to Doctor Who? Could she be returning as Susan Foreman in the 60th anniversary specials? Let me know what you think of that in the comments section, and please check out all the other videos we've been putting out lately. So the recent Type 40 extras, where we went through the Christmas teaser that dropped on Christmas Day. There we went through that, didn't we? Myself and Charlotte and Ian and Matt Potty was on that one too. So yeah, we had a good laugh. And then there was my video there where I looked at some of the recent rumors about what could be coming regarding Doctor Who spin-offs. So there's lots of things to talk about, as always, out there in the Whoniverse. If you know where to look. Of course, the anniversary is only just beginning. There's lots planned here at Type 40. Of course there is. And well, it'd be spoiling it, wouldn't it, if I told you much about any of that. But let us know. Yeah, let me know what you think. Get in touch with us through our social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who, or you can find me too on Twitter as the Spacebook, where I'm wheezing and groaning, ranting and raving about all things geeky inside and outside of the TARDIS, and that's including real life too. Real life. But for now, yeah, I'm thinking of possibilities for the 60th anniversary. Could Carol Ann Ford be back as Susan Foreman? Let me know what you think. I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye-bye.